Welcome to Story Time with Uncle Jeremy, a podcast.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day you're listening to me in your earbuds. I hope that it's been a pleasant one thus far. Welcome to Story Time with Uncle Jeremy for, probably tomorrow, February the 11th of 2019, because I'm not going to post this right after I record it. I'm going to probably clean up some of the background noise, because if you can't tell, I am recording this while I am driving. Not unlike the previous few episodes of Storytime with Uncle Jeremy, I decided I needed to record something, needed to put something out, needed to post a new episode, just on a whim. No, not really on a whim. I've been thinking about it for a while. I've been watching, let me give you a little inside podcast baseball. I've been watching my statistics on Spreaker, and for some reason, I'm not sure who, because I'm not going to pay any extra money, or where they're from. For some reason, I'm seeing some downloads of my last few Napod Pomo episodes. That was National Podcast Posting Month from November. The second and the third in particular have been downloaded a handful of times every week. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if people are just trying to get a sense of who I am, or getting disappointed in the fact that I started a month-long podcasting project and voila, I did not finish like I did the year before. I apologize if you were looking forward to me finishing off the month. And the irony is not lost on me that the last episode that I recorded basically was me talking about how I was tired of being a consumer and wanted to be a producer. But I was not producing. It was not like I wasn't producing anything during the month of November. I finished my college degree. I got my bachelor's finally after 23 years, and part of that entailed me doing a 20-minute stand-up special, which you can find on YouTube if you search my name. It's funny to a degree. I'm pretty proud of what I put together, and after only doing stand-up for a handful of months and being able to put together 20 minutes of pretty decent material. I wouldn't say it's the best stand-up special of all time, but as it goes for a guy who's only been doing it for 5 months. Actually, let's see. Yeah, it was about 4 months. 4 months to the day almost that I started doing stand-up that I was able to produce a 20-minute special. That's pretty remarkable, if you ask me, and you didn't. But anyway, I still produced stuff. I still went and did some comedy at open mics, but in the midst of that, I had to write 2 giant papers for my degree program, meaning that required a lot of attention. The first paper was a very loose paper in that they didn't really give me a guideline. They said, just write about your process of how you put together this special and what you learned from it, and like a daily almost travelogue of my experience putting together a stand-up special, including like how I write my jokes and things like that. It actually is big enough to be a short book, which I am considering publishing as an ebook, although it may seem almost arrogant of me to publish a book about producing a stand-up special when I've only been doing stand-up for a handful of months. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm not above the hubris required to do something like that, so I just might do that. So I'll let you know if that is in the works at some point. But anyway, why am I doing this now? What's going on? Well, first of all, let me start off with the way that I was doing my Napod Pomo. It is a throw the iPod on shuffle kind of day, in that I have thousands of songs on the iPod. Actually, it's on my phone. on my iPhone, and I have an Apple Music subscription, so I didn't have to pay for owning all of the music in my library. So it's a very diverse library of music, and I didn't know what I wanted to listen to while I was at work, and I just decided to throw it on shuffle and see what happens, because I like to live dangerously. I tweeted out the 9 songs, I think, or 8 songs. My voice is cracking, I apologize. That came up. And, it was everything from the Highwaymen to Sixpence None the Richer. So, very, very diverse stuff. And it's fun. If you have time to go check out my Twitter, feel free. It's at JSZare. There's a little plug for you. I don't tweet very often, but I will retweet. Sometimes it's not an endorsement, though. Anyway, that's besides the point. How many times am I going to say that today? I don't know. And I can always edit it out if I want to, which I'm going to do with post-production stuff later. But why am I recording today? Well, I told you about Spreaker, seeing my statistics rising. I'm also seeing the advertising statistics go up. I get a little stipend thrown into an account, and once I reach a threshold, I get a little paycheck. And so money's a very big motivator for me at this day and age. I have 4 children, one of which will be going to college next fall, most likely. We haven't quite decided yet, or where, or when, or how. And so money's a big issue, and I got to make money somewhere. And there's little ads at the beginning and ending of each of these episodes that you will have to suffer through, because every time you listen to them, a little pittance gets thrown into account for me. And I noticed that as my downloads have continued since November, my account has earned me a whopping 50 more cents. And that's a motivator for me, even though 50 cents is not a lot. I think quantity might equal more quantity, if you catch my drift. So I, as a guy who really wants to be a producer and not a consumer in life, now that I've gotten all that pesky college stuff out of the way, I have a little more opportunity to sort of put some more material out there, and it'll be either good or bad or whatever, but it's out there, and I'm hoping to provide the greatest opportunities for you to be entertained, but I'm going to do it anyway, whether it's great or bad, and I'm just going to do it. I don't have any apologies for you. So, I was thinking today, actually last night, my youngest son, I have 2 sons. My oldest is the 17-year-old going to college, but my youngest son's going to be 11 next week, and he's been begging for the last, 2-3 weeks to watch Rocky. Yeah, Rocky. Now, I never owned Rocky on DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, anything like that. But Rocky is one of my favorite movie. It's not a trilogy. It's not a saga. Movie series, I guess. One of my favorite franchises, I think, is the word I'm looking for. Movie franchises of all time. And over the holiday, Target had these pretty sweet, even though they're too small for a fat guy like me, these t-shirt packages that were in like a VHS box packaging, and they had all sorts of movies. I mean, they had RoboCop, and they had 16 Candles, I think. They had a Breakfast Club one, I think. I know they had a Fast Times at Ridgemont High one, and they had a Rocky one. And a couple weeks ago, I had to go to Target. I had to pick up a few things. We were on our emergency winter weather's going to hit. We're going to get snow, so let's get all the milk and bread we need for milk sandwiches, I guess. We were running to Target because I also needed to get a new filter for my furnace, so I was doing everything one-stop shop. And as I've been known to do, because I've learned from my wife, the best deals are on the end caps, because they do a lot of clearance stuff at Target. I was waltzing through the clearance aisles at Target and found those VHS cassette case boxes with t-shirts in them, and I found a small one, adult small, and Jonas was with me, and he really wanted it, and it was marked down to $3 from $10, and I was like, you know what? That's a good deal. I'll get you the Rocky shirt. I resisted the urge to get him the RoboCop one because the last thing I need is my 11-year-old wearing a T-shirt advertising a movie that's basically a schlock-filled murder fest that I just totally love, but not necessarily appropriate for an 11-year-old. And so I got him a Rocky shirt, and it's basically a remake of the poster of Creed versus Balboa for the first movie, and it's really cool and really small because I can't wear it unless I wear it as a headband. But my son can wear it, and he loves it. And I also, for Christmas, got Rocky, the entire series on DVD. And so those two things converged over the last, week or two of my son begging, Dad, can we watch Rocky tonight? And usually he asks at like 9 o'clock at night, and Rocky's a 2-hour movie, and I'm old, and I want to go to sleep. And I kept saying no, and I kept telling him no, and I hated that I had to say no, but I did. And finally it all came to a head last night. My wife and I were chatting. Jonas was finishing up some schoolwork he had to finish up for homeschool. And he came up to me at about 10 o'clock. He said, Dad, can we watch Rocky tonight? It's 10 o'clock on a Saturday. I don't have to work the next... Oh, actually, I did have to work today. But I looked at my wife. My wife said, go be a good dad. Go down and watch Rocky with your son. And so, instead of finding out who won that episode of Chopped, I'm sure I saw at some point, I went downstairs and flipped Rocky on. Let me tell you, Rocky, fantastic movie. Totally holds up. Still one of my favorite movies of all time. But as I was sitting there watching it with my son, who fell asleep about, 40 minutes into the movie, after I had explained to him, that Rocky was, down on his luck boxer, probably never going to make it, was working for a gangster as a leg breaker, all those things that you have to explain to a kid. He had fallen asleep, and there I am thinking, maybe it's my frame of mind right now. But maybe it's because my primary outlet for creativity lately has been this. It got me thinking, is there a movie that's basically Rocky with a stand-up comedian? And I don't think there is. There might be. I could be wrong. You can correct me if you want by emailing me, messaging me on Facebook, something, I don't know. But I was thinking, if there's a movie about a stand-up comic that follows the Rocky model, and if there was or isn't, this is how I would write it. Okay, so Rocky is a comedian. Okay, I don't know. I can't come up with a name for Rocky. Rocky's just a good name. So we're gonna call him Rocky the Comic. So Rocky the Comic. I don't even know who I'd get to play him, but it'd have to be like a 35 to 45-year-old unknown. Okay, because Rocky, he's about 30 in the movie. And he actually says he's 30, and he's been called a bum. He's a tomato, according to Mickey. And he's not on the road to success as a boxer. Let's just put it that way. He's won a few fights, but they're all lower level, smoky barroom kind of boxing matches. So he's not necessarily going to be the next big star. He goes to his gym, discovers that Mickey has moved all his stuff out of his locker because the next big thing is in the ring, and that next big thing needs a locker for his gear. So Rocky's not necessarily going anywhere. And I was thinking, what if Rocky the Comic, this is the kind of guy I could see. Rocky the Comic is a guy who isn't really a rising star in stand-up comedy. He's maybe been doing it for a few years. He's built a rapport with a club owner, but he's not necessarily successful. Does a couple of openers. He does open mics all the time. He's gotten booked in a handful of shows a year, but that's not his full-time job. Okay, Rocky.